This is a video on linear factorization theorem. This states that functions can be represented by a product of linear factors in the form f of x or y equals a constant multiplied by the linear terms, times one root, a second root, a third root, and however many roots that are possibly given. Remember that roots and zeros and solutions are all the same thing, so please don't get confused. So we're going to simply plug in our roots or our zeros where we have the r values. So let's go ahead and get started. So we'll notice that we have x minus 2 for 2. We have x plus 2 for negative 2. We have x minus I for I, and x plus I for negative I. Now we're going to use this f of 3 equals negative 150 at the end, but we're not concerned with it right now. Right now we've got to do some basic steps. So please notice that it's always easier to multiply the real numbers with the real numbers and the imaginary numbers with the imaginary numbers. So when I FOIL the first two parentheses, I notice that they're a case of dots, where it's a difference of two squares where they have the exact same numbers, just one's positive and one's negative, which means I can multiply the first times the first and the last times the last and be finished. So I have x squared plus 4. Now this second case where we have x minus I and x plus I is also a case of dots. So I'm going to get x squared minus I squared. Now you have to think back to your complex rules and remember that I squared equals negative 1. So since that's the case, we have x squared plus 4 times x squared plus 1. Well, now we have no i's, we can multiply all the way through. So we have x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times 1 is plus x squared. 4 times x squared is 4x squared. And 4 times 1 is 4. So we want to simplify our equation and see that we have x to the 4th plus 5x squared plus 4. Now this is not our entire problem because remember, we need to multiply it by a and it still says f of x out front. Well, now that we have this form, we can use what's been given to us. This form tells us that x is 3 and y is negative 150. Well, if y, which is the same as f of x, is negative 150, we don't know a, it's what we're going to solve for, and I know that my x value is 3. So I have 3 to the 4th plus 5 times 3 squared plus 4. So I'm going to dig out my calculator right quick and do 3 to the 4th power plus 5 times 3 squared plus 4. And when I do that, I get negative 150 equals 130a. So I'm simply going to divide by 130 on both sides. And I'll see that negative 150 divided by 130 is negative 15 thirds. So a equals negative 15 thirteenths. And for my final answer, I'm going to rewrite this form with the a value in it. So I have f of x equals negative 15 thirteenths times x to the 4th plus 5x squared plus 4. Now you could distribute the 15 thirds, negative 15 thirds, to each piece inside that parenthesis, or you can leave the answer just like it is. Either one would be an acceptable answer.